Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Melissa Scheffler. Merle has the night off.
I'm Steve Dawson. The case of a woman claiming to be Elvis's half-sister will move forward in the courts. The estate of Elvis Presley's father has been reopened. Now, this comes after a petition filed by a woman claiming to be Vernon Presley's love child, which would make her Elvis Presley's half-sister. Fox 15's Lauren Lee joins us here in the studio with more on this perplexing legal affair. Lauren?
That's right, Steve. The petitioner says she has DNA evidence to prove she is the daughter of Vernon Presley. She says a DNA sample of Elvis's proves that she is the king's half-sister. And she says she got the sample from Elvis himself. This is Eliza Presley. The Washington state resident is in Memphis to prove she is the daughter of Vernon Presley, the half-sister to Elvis Presley. Eliza and her attorney appeared in probate court Wednesday.
Our facts came out strongly, and we simply want a day for her to be heard when all of the proof can come out.
Eliza Presley, who recently changed her name from Alice Tiffin, did not speak on camera but made her case in open court. She says she supplied Elvis's DNA to the firm DNA Consulting, and the results prove she is Elvis's half-sister. She says she got the DNA evidence from Jesse Presley. She says Jesse Presley is the assumed name of Elvis Presley. So her claim is Elvis himself licked an envelope and sent it her way. She says DNA Consulting processed the sample this summer, even comparing it to DNA from some of Elvis's first cousins.
And they've been tested and retested by various labs, and the proof is conclusive that her allegations are correct.
Eliza says her quest to find her father started when she found out she was adopted. She says her birth mother lived across the street from Graceland and says she spent time with the Presley family as a teenager. But she says her mother denies Vernon Presley, 25 years her senior, is the father. The attorney for Elvis Presley Enterprises was speechless when asked about the claim that Elvis lives under the assumed name Jesse, and surprised the judge reopened Vernon's estate.
We've only had to come into court on two, but we've had at least at least a dozen people claim that they are primarily children of Elvis. This is the first child of Vernon that we've had.
Probate court judge Karen Webster said by reopening the estate, she was not ruling on the paternity or heirship, but her ruling does allow the case to go forward.
I don't understand what the purpose is going to be. We're going to have a reopened estate, but she's not going to determine heirship, and there's no money.
Eliza said she just wants to be acknowledged by the Presley family. Eliza Presley's attorney says reopening the estate allows her to issue summons to parties connected to Vernon Presley's estate. Elvis Presley Enterprises attorney says she has no case because of statute of limitations and adoption laws. The next hearing has not been scheduled. And I just got off the phone with the DNA specialist out of Arizona. He says he believes Eliza is Elvis's half-sister and that Elvis is still alive. He says the proof is there. DNA evidence doesn't lie. In the studio, Lauren Lee, Fox 13.
Okay, let's talk about your next assignment, Operation Fountain Pen.
Operation Fountain Pen. The big Mafia crime families, Gambino, Colombo, Bonanno, were extorting millions and committing crimes of all kinds. They'd even made Jimmy Hoffa hand over the Teamsters Union pension money to build casinos in Las Vegas.
Pension fund money bought the Stardust. At least $15 million went to the dunes, apparently through the good offices of alleged syndicate gambler Frank Rosenthal.
And the Mafia was taking over the music business. They were paying off radio stations to play records. Payola.
A federal grand jury in California will soon investigate the multi-million-dollar record business. Drug dealing, payola, mob connections, and high living at company expense.
America needed me again.
The House Crime Committee heard testimony from an underworld crime figure who linked the name of entertainer Frank Sinatra with certain organized crime dealings.
Frank Sinatra fronts points for Raymond Patriaca and Jerry Angiulo on the Fontainebleau
and he fronted points for them in the sands in Tahoe.
Was Frank Sinatra a made man?
Frank wasn't a made mafioso, but the mafia made him. They set him up as owner of the Calneva Lodge Casino and some horse racing tracks. Frank was the front man. Those kinds of places attracted politicians who could be blackmailed to keep the heat off. Frank would set them up with mafia mistresses. So better to say, Frank Sinatra was the mafia's insurance man.
President Kennedy had an intimate relationship with a woman who also was the girlfriend of a Chicago Mafia boss.
We were introduced by a mutual friend. I was introduced to Sam Giancana by the same friend.
Giancana was murdered last June while cooking spaghetti in his home.
So the colonel booked me into the Las Vegas casinos, and I started the drug stings again. I'd put on my DEA tracksuit, and I'd get on the Lisa Marie and fly in, like I was Captain Marvel Jr., coming to save the day. It was fantastic.
Wait, let me get this straight. You're saying you set up drug deals between the Memphis Mafia and the real Mafia?
Ironically, yes. Exact same as we did with the Weathermen. I ran drug stings on mob crews who were dealing drugs, and they were all dealing. The FBI tracked them back to their safe houses and bugged them.
We had wiretaps. Conversations that took place over it could be overheard at least a half mile away.
That's how the FBI got the Italians for some of everything. Killing, drugs, loan sharking, kidnapping, arson, you name it.
What effect did this have on the Mafia?
It was very effective because the FBI was clever. To confuse the mob, they took down only one guy at a time. They got so paranoid, they started killing each other.
Suddenly, gunshots, a whole series of them. And Joe Colombo Sr., accused of being a gangland chieftain, now near death with a bullet in his brain.
Everyone was a rat. They never dreamed it was Elvis Presley. One time in Las Vegas, me and Red West hauled a wise guy off on an airplane. I flashed my badge and the passengers saw me, but they thought it must be a guy masquerading as Elvis. Another time, we did a bust in Colorado, and I got presents for the cops.
He was so grateful for the assistance of 3 members of the Denver Police Department, he picked out 3 Mark IV automobiles.
When the mobsters got arrested, they put their wives on television, and those women sure didn't look like much. It was pretty sad.
All of them claim the FBI is harassing their families.
They sit in front of my house. They bother my husband.
The FBI doesn't gamble. They don't drink. They don't go out with girls. What do they do? Why did they become priests?
What was your most memorable sting operation against the Mafia?
The first one, because I was so nervous. While he was in prison, Joey Gallo made a deal with the Black Panthers to sell heroin. The FBI was terrified of the muscle of the Panthers and the smarts of the mob teaming up. So I got Dylan to introduce me to Joey Gallo, and I set him up.
How well did you know Bob Dylan?
We'd met only once when I recorded a song of his. I told him I admired his serious songwriting, and he told me my voice made him feel like he was busting out of jail. Dylan was a conservative, small-town boy, just like me. I mean, he did shows with a giant American flag, and he dumped that awful Joan Baez when she tried to push him into leftist politics. Anyway, Joey Gallo got killed on a contract hit in Little Italy.
Did the mob ever suspect that you were a DEA agent?
One of my boys messed up and gave a picture of us wearing police badges to the newspapers. Frank Sinatra called me in a panic, but I assured him it was only a joke. Another time, a wise guy recognized my revolver was issued only to federal agents. So I told him I got it from Frank Sinatra.
Were there any big problems with the Mafia drug stings?
Biggest problem was the colonel was a degenerate gambler. He gambled 12 hours at a time. In fact, the colonel was one of the top 5 high rollers in Vegas. He'd play roulette by dropping chips on every number. So even when he won, he lost. Heck, Lyd Hilton let him use 2 balls on the roulette wheel, and he still lost. So the Colonel's debt got bigger and bigger, and all the time he was writing IOUs to the casinos. The Colonel was becoming owned by the mob, and that was dangerous. I should have dumped that son of a bitch, but loyalty was my biggest flaw, and that's why I did 2 shows a night in Vegas on account of the Colonel owed so much money.
The FBI files show you began to get bomb threats. Do you know who was targeting you and why?
There's no doubt in my mind that Captain Nazi and the weathermen suspected me of setting them up. And they wanted to assassinate me with a pipe bomb so I could not testify against them. So I started fast moves to avoid being an easy target. I carried a gun on stage at all times. My boys had guns too. And that's not the only thing. Captain Nazi started spreading rumors that I was a drug user, thinking he'd get the DEA to fire me. I was so mad I went off on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
The rumors that you hear about me are trash. I'm an 8th degree black belt in karate. I'm a federal narcotics agent. I am. I swear to God. On the contrary, I have to be straight as an arrow. I don't drink booze. I don't take any this and that. By God, don't say booze, son. I'll whoop your ass, because I'm telling you the God's truth. Thank you very much.
About mid-'76, the FBI overheard the Gambinos on a wiretap saying the Memphis Mafia set them up. So I had my dad fire them, hoping that would take the heat off. And my boys played along.
We were given 3 days' notice by his father and a week's pay after 16 years, and he wouldn't talk to us himself. He flew out of town, and he had his father do it.
Were you getting worried?
Yeah, because pretty soon, the Mafia started cleaning house to find a rat. And a Colombo wise guy named Vinny, I'd never met him, came backstage for a drug buy. I had a .22 revolver sticking out of my boot, some cheap thing I'd got at Kmart, and Vinny kept staring at it. So to gain his confidence, I said, "Hey, you want it?" And he said, "Sure." Next thing, there were 20 inside murders, and I come to find out they used my gun.
In recent months, 20 people who may have been FBI informers have been murdered.
This is the type of gun used for the executions, available at most sporting goods stores. Police say the Mafia did not use this kind of weapon until recently.
I was worried it'd be traced back to me. Next thing, they thought Frank Sinatra might be the rat. They tried to kill Frank by blowing up his plane that he leased from a Mafia front company called Jet Avia. But his mama got on the plane instead of him.
A snowstorm today hampered the search for Natalie Sinatra and 3 others who were aboard a chartered jet plane that vanished last night.
Then somebody tried to put a bomb on my plane in Pittsburgh, but the FBI stopped it. So of course I was worried. Them boys believed the only good witness was a dead witness.